From the art of the deal to keeping it real. Live from the Simply Vegas studios, it's The Power Move with John Gafford.
Back again for another episode. Shockingly enough, we haven't been canceled yet, but we're back again for another episode of The Power Move. With me, as always, is liquored up in the middle of the day, Colt Amidan.
Cheers, guys.
Colt.
Cheers,
and,
cheers.
of course, Chris Connell, Esquire. What you got a surprise for you? Right on the board. There it is.
Nailed it.
We got to talk about that first. Before we get into what we're going to talk about on the show today, obviously, that's a crappy move. That's a crappy sound for the power move. It's just what we came up with as a joke. So I have a challenge to everybody listening to this. If you're listening to this or watching this, here's the challenge. We want you, send me a wave file either in the DMs on Instagram, whatever it may be. Send me a wave file of something that we should use for the power move noise. Chris recommended maybe like a heavy New York accent. Thick. Bostonian,
or
whatever.
Thick Bostonian, New York. It's a power move. Kid.
Whatever you think the power move noise should be, we're going to try them out till we find the one that sticks. Send me in a wave, DM it to me, record it on your phone, whatever you want it to do. We're going to try a new one every week until we find the one that works. I think is a good idea. But today, what we're going to talk about a couple of things. Number one, will the housing market crash? That seems to be the question I get more often than not. Social faux pas and how to get out of them, and the value of education, i.e., should you go to college? It's a good question. There it is.
I have hard opinions on every one of them.
Hard opinions on every one of those things. So I get it. So first of all, let's jump right in and talk about the housing market, because everybody's got an opinion on this. Everybody talks about, the market's going to crash. I know it's going to be over. And doing what we do, we get asked about that more often than not. I know residential, which is, really my end of it, my specialty, has been through the roof for years now, since probably 2011 when it started to shoot up when the hedge funds started to buy. Mm-hmm. And then the same thing's happened in commercial, right, Colt? Same thing.
So commercial is always a shadow market, in my opinion. So you guys shot up in 11, we went about 13, and it's just been on fire.
Been on fire lately.
Yeah.
And Chris, even though a lot of people, for those of you who don't know this at home, even though he is an attorney, a practicing attorney, we don't know what his practice is, but he's a practicing attorney. He does also, he's a card-carrying member of the Las Vegas Realtors as well. So welcome to that. Welcome to the deep end, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously you hold your license for a different reason than we do, but still you've got it. And so you from your loose perch have seen the market go up to a place that it's overinflated. And it seems to be the number one thing you see with the prognosticators now, which is the market's going to crash, So much to the point, several weeks ago, I don't know if you saw it, I actually did a challenge on Instagram where I told any prognosticator that wants to bet me over the next 2 years that the market would crash, I bet him 10 grand. I said, look, you got to sign a contract and you got to put the money in escrow, and I got no takers. But I think the first thing is, what constitutes a market crash is the first question.
And that's a very interesting question, right? We all have different definitions of what a crash is. Now, it's such a weird topic to talk about Las Vegas, a specific art market, because we have these weird barriers to entry and we have these weird economic moats that a lot of other places won't. So I can't opine on what's going to happen to Manhattan pricing. People may get sick of it and keep flooding into Atlanta. But what we have, our advantage is being beside California, obviously. We have these prices, and you're aware of it, specifically as somebody that goes to California often and for your business, and where you have homes that are just just garbage. Garbage homes going for 3 times what the average home goes for here. And so obviously the shift to Las Vegas makes a ton of sense for people that want the warm weather and the low taxes, all that. Politics, whatever your reason is. So I have a hard time kind of coming up with a general opinion on real estate in America, right? That's what people always want to do. A crash is coming. Yeah. But you can't look at things like that, right? In every market, there's a bear market. Every market, there's a bull market. You just have to know where it is and how to find it, what makes it what it is. If you look at where are the most increasing percentage, premiums in the country, I think Stockton's third. Stockton's like the car theft capital of North America. And it's
I think Grand Theft Auto is actually based
literally
on
Stockton. Grand Theft Auto Stockton is just called Grand Theft Auto. It's Stockton, Idaho, Boise. It's just on fire. It's never going to calm down. They're never going to satisfy that need because people are starting to shift paradigms about what is important to them, what's valuable, and people are starting to move to Montana. People are starting to move to places where we're kind of left at the outskirts of thought for a long time.
Untouched. Yeah. Well, I think, if you look at the national market, let's talk about that first. And I'm willing to make, the bet I was making was based on the Las Vegas market.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did was I took a poll amongst my followers, listeners, whatever you'll call them, through Instagram. And I said, what constitutes a market crash? And overwhelmingly, it was north of 25%. Markets are going to ebb and flow. They're going to go up and down, market corrections here and there. But a crash would be 25% or more a loss, which is essentially, we had 50-60% market crash back when it happened in 06-07. That's never going to happen in Las Vegas again. But before I get to why, let's talk about why it won't happen nationally. Now, first of all, you have interest rates again today tick down a 1/10. So they're again hovering right at 3%. That is historically low interest rates. The Fed has already come out and said they have no intention necessarily of raising interest rates. Inflation is gobbling up pretty well right now, but with rates low, it's still a great idea to buy a house. Even with the inflated prices of the homes, it's still a great time. People forget back in the 80s, an interest rate on a single family house
15-20%.
It was 18%.
Yeah.
You got a new mortgage, Bob. What'd you get? You got 17.5%. It was insane. I mean, you weren't signing a mortgage. You literally were signing your own death warrant.
And cars were still $25,000.
Yeah, you're going to die in that house is what you're doing. You might as well be buying a coffin at that point. It was nuts. So those low interest rates are going to continue to create demand, continue to create that demand that's going. Now, if markets depend on two things, which are supply and demand, I learned that in 10th grade economics class. Colin, if you didn't know that, I learned that. Yeah. Supply and demand work hand in hand.
Is that how that works? Is that how that works? Wow.
They work hand in hand to do that. But I learned that. And if you look at the supply chains that are coming out, the United States government just passed something not too long ago. If you didn't know about it, it's got a T in front of it. It's the infrastructure bill, and it's going to cost us how much?
$1 trillion.
That's right. You know what? That's the second time I've hit it now. I'm already over it. I'm already over the fan. It's not. Please send in your waves. But no, $1 trillion. So the U.S. government is now just became the largest competitor to every single home builder in America for two things: raw materials and labor. Yeah. So every house you build is going to be built at some point with concrete and with stick lumber. It has to be, right? They have to frame them up. I mean, I know they're doing 3D. Somebody's like, no, they're doing 3D printing now. They don't do that. So, okay, I get it. I know that. But most of them are still being built with some form of concrete and or lumber. The U.S. government is now going to start bidding that up. And oh yeah, by the way, it wasn't just the U.S. government that passed a giant infrastructure bill. China and Germany just did the same thing.
All at the same time.
So now all at the same time. So you have the global supply of raw materials going to get choked to death because the pricing is going to go through the roof because the governments are now competing for it, number one. Number two, Chris, I know last week you said it was going to be the U.S. military was going to come home and redeploy into building bridges, which while a good idea to get them out of war zones and get that done, I don't think is a very practical idea.
Yeah, but that labor supply in general. I mean, we're gonna there's this whole thing, this narrative right now about COVID and recovery. All these people sitting at home collecting checks, blah blah blah. But when people do kind of come online and these jobs are maybe higher paying, or these jobs are more attractive to people that are looking for skills, or these kids coming out of high school who don't necessarily want to go to college right away, we'll maybe see more participation in that kind of outdoor physical activity.
Dude, okay.
We're going to get a lot more.
Did you walk outside in Las Vegas last week? Did you bother to walk from any kind of structure to your automobile?
Oh yeah.
You want to? There's no amount of money you could pay me. I mean, dude, those guys that work on the roads and stuff.
Yeah.
God bless, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of unemployed, school teachers or whoever want to go work on the side of a street building a bridge.
Yeah, no, not school teachers. It's so funny. Not as an aside. The older I get, and the longer I live in Las Vegas, I actually think it was a cool summer, and I don't know what anybody's talking about. They're all dying out there. I was having having my hot girl summer. I was living the dream.
It was absolutely egregious.
This is coming from a guy from Regina,
Saskatchewan, Regina, Canada. But no, aside from that, no. But there's a lot of Here's the thing about young men. Okay, and I'm going to go specifically young men. They are statistically and probabilistically more likely to go do dangerous jobs and be outside and suffer if there's more money involved.
Crab show. Yeah. Crab show, the crab fishing show.
Yeah, look at the
crab fishing show.
Crazy.
Men die because they're morons because they're willing to chase that extra buck.
Yeah, but I don't. Okay, I don't think it's dangerous. I just think it's brutal. I mean, there's dangerous.
Yeah, but you have the option. You have the option to.
I guess the crab fishing exactly a walk in the park either. I guess. Think about it.
Yeah, but would you rather go? Would you rather go build bridges or lay asphalt in the middle of a Las Vegas summer, or be a preschool teacher.
No, but
John.
no. But here's my point. My point is this. Well, the preschool teacher, I think I'd rather go lay asphalt. Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
But the point being is this. The first people that are going to go take those jobs are the guys that are currently doing tile for Toll Brothers.
That's right.
Yep.
Currently framing for Pulte, currently laying those foundations for KB. That's the first wave of people into those jobs because, quite frankly, the U.S. government is just going to pay so much, the home builders won't be able to afford to keep up, which is going to raise their labor costs for the people that do stay through the roof, and that's going to get passed directly back off to the consumer.
And then maybe we'll start hearing talks about immigration reform at that point.
Well, possibly, but again, I think what you're going to see is you're going to see a lot less upstarts. You're going to see a lot less actual new homes being built because they're not going to have the materials, they're not going to have the labor, they're not going to have the ability to pull these things online. They're not going to.
I think people are going to go vertical.
I don't think even vertical is going to be a challenge. More of a challenge because now you're talking steel. Now you're talking major, raw materials that are in demand for the infrastructure bill.
Sure.
I mean, building is going to be a real problem over the next several years. As long as they're burning through that $1 trillion, it's going to be a real challenge. So I think that in itself is going to hold demand down, is going to hold supply down, while you have demand still relatively high. Now, not a lot of people are like, well, the eviction moratorium's almost up, and people evictions
it is up.
I hate seeing that.
It is up. That's true. That's Supreme Court. Yes. What say you, Counselor? Supreme Court just ruled. This is your department.
And here's the thing: people can say what they want and moan about evictions. It's not fair to renters. And I go, look, life is not supposed to be fair. You don't run systems of government based on we're not Robin Hood as a culture, right?
That fair is a bad word in my house?
Fair's a weird word to me.
It's a bad word in my house.
Because fair is all relative, right? Fair is relative.
Yep.
It's not fair to who? So you say, well, these renters should be able to continue on the moratorium or whatever. But it's like, it's been quite a while. I think there's a lot of, people looking for jobs. I mean, I'm not trying to get into the politics of that left, right, but the United States government, it's within its purview to deprive people of their life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness or property without fair compensation.
Right.
Now, you can't deprive, a landlord of their compensation.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not what you can do. It's not your authority. It's like a police officer is not allowed to go teach fifth grade. You have rules and you have outlines and parameters, and you got to follow them. And the Supreme Court got it right that you can't arbitrarily and unilaterally dictate there's an eviction moratorium because you're dispossessing people of their right to do what they want with their property. And that is not within the constitutional boundaries, in my opinion.
I hated that excuse of everybody, well, it's going to crash because of that. And it's like, well, let's look at that.
You may have a bit of supply, but there's so much money right now, Colt.
Okay,
there's
so much money.
There's so much money.
That it doesn't matter. No. I could put 1,000 homes online. And there's going to be 1,010 bids for them by hedge funds or people that need to get rid of their money.
Well, let's talk about that. That brings us to point number 2 as to why the market will not crash. So
we haven't rehearsed this, by the way.
We haven't. No. But when the market first turned, we were going to rehearse to be like a boy band concert after this bitch. Let's face it.
Tag John, your turn.
No, exactly. No. Point number 2 is when the market turned for the better in 2010, 2011, some of us were there, me included, and I bought massive portfolios for the hedge funds. I worked for both Blackstone and for Goldman Sachs through their buying arm, was called Frio Nevada here, where we bought them literally hundreds and hundreds of homes as fast as we could buy them.
Whatever's for sale.
So, and all of those homes were bought cash. Companies like Wedgwood, still buying today, literally have never stopped buying, have just continued to buy, continue to buy. So much so, the big hedge funds, and I obviously saw this, but Blackstone just did a deal with Pulte to buy 7,000 new homes directly from Pulte to immediately turn into rentals.
I mean, how are you competing with that?
You can't. No. You can't. But again, this is why the market's not going to crash. So let's just assume. Let's assume that I'm Blackstone and I have literally more money than I know what to do with, because they do.
Sure.
And I have purchased all of these assets, and let's just call it Town A, whatever it may be, because they own assets all over the country. They have markets. There's a hedge fund in just about every medium-sized to large market across the country. And they bought all these assets cash, and they have them all. The market starts to dip. You're in full equity if you haven't recapitalized these deals to pay for the next ones, but you're in equity in a lot of these houses. The market starts to dip. Ask Colt. Colt, you run the hedge. Time to play. Who runs the hedge fund? Colt, you run it. So the market starts to dip. Do you just throw your hands up in the air and say, well, I guess all of these assets we own are going to go down in value? Or do you B, start buying up everything you can get to protect your value?
Well, it's just like any investment, right? Stock, same thing. When it goes down, you buy more.
Absolutely.
You offset it.
Dollar cost average.
Dollar cost averaging.
And I think that a lot of people don't comprehend that. I mean, and it goes for just some random person, right? That they lose equity in it. What people don't realize is there's so much equity in homes nowadays.
Yeah.
Well, me and you were doing this stuff with the banks and stuff. They bought at 106% debt. You know, they had a debt of 106%. It dropped 20% in 3 months. Now they're underwater, you know, almost 30%. They're not getting away. They're walking away. You could drop people 30% now. The majority would still have a ton of equity.
That brings us to point number 3, Colt, which was, if you look back at the last crash we had in 2006, whatever year it was, 2007, what was going on in 2003 to 2005? No income, no job loans. The ninja loan. We don't even. We'll never check where you work. We're not going to check on how much you make. We don't care. If you say you make $100,000, you probably do. How much do you have to put down in the house? 0. We'll do an 80% loan with a 20% HELOC. Close them simultaneously.
It's all closing costs.
And we'll actually roll into the deal 24 months of your HOA. So you have no bills out of pocket for at least 30 months. You're going to be a millionaire, which is why every cocktail waitress in this town owned 6 houses.
Are you concerned that those are coming back?
No, I'm not.
But there are products like that. I kind of had a moment where I go, oh.
No. Well, I'm telling you, then you haven't refied or gotten a loan lately, because it's still, to get any type of a decent rate, it is a disaster. I mean, it's still the amount of, I tell everybody that buys a house with us, like, look, I don't care what your credit is. I don't care if it's 850, whatever it is.
The diligence is
perfect. You need to expect to have to answer some questions that you weren't expecting to have to answer. You need to expect to provide some documentation that you have zero reasoning why they need it.
We did a refi, and it was, and
it's a grueling deal.
I thought it was going to be a layup in terms of, like, I thought I could just call.
Yeah, no.
Be like, we just need a refi. No, and that's it. Like, I think I do see some of these stated things come across, but I think it's all hard money.
Just
right?
makes me.
It's hard money. I mean, it's different. And like you said, when I moved to Vegas, it was 2006. This is what happened. I'm here with my buddy who owns a roofing construction. We go and gamble. The guy's like, "Oh, you're in real estate? I own 3 homes." I'm like, "Oh, good for you."
You're talking about the dealer. The dealer.
Yeah, of course. Okay? So I don't know anything about Vegas. I'm like, whatever. So then I go maybe to a gentleman's club because I'm a gentleman. And maybe
to a gentleman.
And the girl's like, "What do you do?" And we're real estate. "Oh, I own 4 homes, right?" It was like The Big Short.
So I was like, "Are you just telling me the sideline of The Big Short?"
Big Short. Wait, 5 times it took me to watch a Big Short because it was.
Wait, is that a movie or your name at the Gentleman's Club?
Oh, yeah, wow.
But no, it works for that. I'm using it for that for sure. That worked out. That was perfect.
But I did. I sat there and I'm like, what the hell? The Big Short took me 5 times because it made me sick to my stomach, because that was the exact story. So I go to the guy trying to pull me in Vegas. I go, "How much does the dealer make?" 60 grand. Okay. How much does a stripper make? 130. How do you have variable. $1 million? Yeah, right. It
depends on the shift. So there's a lot of things that go into it.
But how does a $60,000 per year guy have 3 homes? The average home is $320 at that time.
Yeah.
You got $1 million portfolio. I walked out there that night. Within 24 hours, I go, "I don't know if I should move to Vegas. This is going to get ugly." That's the exact words I told to somebody. Those loans were
crazy.
Just crazy.
And now, but to get a loan, if you've gotten a loan in the last, from 2010 to now, you got skin in the game. Everybody's buying houses right now has skin in the game. They had to put some money in, they put it up, and they've now taken advantage of some of the equity coming up. You don't hear a lot about a lot of people now. Back in 04, 05, as soon as you got equity, what did you do?
RV.
Refi with a HELOC, buy a boat. Everybody was living out the equity. People are gun shy, man. They don't do that anymore. Yeah. And we see, through our mortgage company, our title company, our real estate company, we see a lot of deals close. And you don't see a lot of encumbered weird liens with like a lot of HELOCs that were pulled against properties because people have equity. And you know what doesn't go to foreclosure, Colt? You know what doesn't go to foreclosure?
HOA.
Equity.
Equity doesn't foreclose, and here's why. The reason it doesn't foreclose is because if you have equity in your house, if you have equity in your property, and it's going to foreclosure the next day, you can guarantee yourself that somebody that paid $399 for a class called Real Estate Millions, I don't know if that's a real course, I'm just making it up, but there's 50 of them that are called this. Somebody's going to get that list and come knocking on your door. "Hi, I'm here to help you," is what they're going to say. And, we'll make a cash offer. You deed the house to me and we'll get it away. That equity is going to get gobbled up by somebody smarter than the person willing to let it go foreclose. But the reality is that property is never going to hit the open market.
No,
it's not. Somebody's going to play an angle that property is going to, and its equity is going to get gobbled up before that, which brings me to something else. I think if you haven't figured out, if those reasons by themselves are good enough why the market's not going to crash, I mean, you can hit me up. I'll give you 10 more why it won't happen.
Well, you brought up a good point too about the hedge funds. Now, let's say, for example, the hedge funds wanted to sell. Where are they going to put their money?
Where do they put their money? Where's it going to go?
You're going to trigger all these events?
The biggest problem when I talk to rich people, and I talk to a lot of them, and I do, the biggest problem they all have is, well, what am I going to do with the money?
Nothing.
Yep. That's
what. There's literally nothing you can do with money. First off, plus the tax events. So you'd have to 1031 these portfolios if you could. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if you can, but imagine having 7,000 homes from Pulte sitting here, all renting, all cash flowing.
Well, there's a reason that you can't find apartment buildings anymore. It's such a hard thing to find because
1031ing it to them too.
Everybody with money is looking to buy them. Everybody.
I get that call 4 times a week. Mm-hmm. Well, I got 5 million. I got 10 million. Yeah, good.
You and everybody else, buddy.
Yeah.
And opportunity zones are kind of in a weird place right now because some of those loopholes are going to close up. So they may come out with a new program like that, which may create new kind of incentives for getting.
I'm a fan of opportunity zones.
No,
that's a different story.
It's really complex. I was sitting down with some kind of like Wall Street guys the other day at a meeting talking about some stuff, and I'll keep it to myself what they were, where the money is kind of coming and going and what they're planning on doing. Let's just put it this way. In life, people with money are 3 steps ahead of people without.
Oh, without question.
3 steps. And I don't mean 2 steps. I mean 3, 4, 5 steps. Yeah. Like a lot. They're like, this fund is going to do this because when this happens, this will happen.
No, they're literally writing the music that you're going to be dancing to.
You're going to be dancing to. Yeah. And it's not a joke. So if you have some money, just lean on some smarter people sometimes. Stop trying to be a hero and do everything yourself. There's a reason that some of these people exist, and they're just on a different track than you. They're talking to different people, have different opportunities. That's just my free advice for them.
Well, I think we always talk about if you want to change, what's going on with you, change the room you're in.
Yeah, and I don't even mean like people. Who are your buddies. I mean, because that ought to be cool if you were talking to nothing but a bunch of finance wizards. But I'm talking about the people at banks, like major Wall Street banks. You're talking about the people at Blackstone.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're talking about them, they open and close funds. Like you can't even buy them.
Yeah.
Like you can't even get into their fund. They've already closed and they've already opened and closed that 7,000 I guarantee.
Yeah.
They won't take your money. We don't even want your money. Throw it in the garbage for all I care.
They don't
need it.
Money.
We don't want it.
Yep.
So there's it's not a conspiracy. It's just there's people that move money in a certain way that's going to be a lot more efficient than you. So try to understand that first, and then try to limit your own sort of downside potential by kind of
trying to play with them.
At least talk to a financial advisor. See what the word on the street is a lot of times.
Well, what I was going to talk about was. Man, this is my biggest problem with the industry that we're in. It's a huge problem because it's a huge moneymaker. It's a massive moneymaker. A lot of my friends, this is a key part of their personal business. It makes my stomach turn a little bit. Here's what it is.
Chili's gift cards.
Chili's gift cards. Again, if you don't know Chili's, I'm not done with you. I'm not done. And again, my goal with these comments is to make you have to Google what did Chili's do to John Gafford and make that trend. That's my goal.
Beautiful. Yeah, I'll be here to remind you.
But again, what it is wholesaling real estate. Now, I think that if you are not a realtor, if you are not someone that carries that card, and we do, it's a little goofy, it's a little outdated. We have to take a little oath to uphold the best interest of the public. We have to do that. Mm-hmm. I don't think you can be a realtor and wholesale a property. Now, for those of you at home that don't know what wholesaling is, what wholesaling is, for example, in the example that we just gave before, where we were talking about the lady that was going to get foreclosed on. Yep. You would knock on her door and you'd say, hey, we'll get you a cash offer. You see all these signs, we'll get you a cash offer tonight, cash offer for your house. Well, a lot of these people pick a $300 course and learn how to make bandit signs by writing on them, cash offer for your house in one day. They get one phone call and this is what they do. They come to your house and they say, we're going to give you a cash offer. Now, obviously, that offer is way below market value. It can't be market value because it wouldn't make any sense. And the pitch is, well, you're not going to have any inconvenience. You're not going to have to use a realtor. You're not going to have to use any of this stuff, right? And then what they do is they make you sign a contract. And this is if you are a property owner, if there's one phrase that I can get across through every podcast we do that you need to beware, that phrase is and or assignee.
Yep.
Because when you sign a contract to sell your house to whatever entity, whatever individual, whatever it is, and right behind it, it says and or assignee, you are pretty much guaranteeing yourself you are leaving money on the table that somebody's about to scrape. Because here's what happens. They get your house in contract. Let's say they'll close in 10 days. Then they say, okay, so say your house is worth, call it $350,000. And a good wholesaler or somebody that's skilled in this particular art can go in and for whatever reason, because you're uneducated, desperate, in a tough spot, whatever you may be, will make you an offer well below market value, 25, 30% below. And they'll say, we'll give you $250,000 right away, whatever it is. And I mean, I've heard of people getting free houses basically by the time this comes out. It's crazy. We're going to offer you this crazy low offer to get this done. And then they'll take your contract because it says and or assignee, and they'll start calling people that actually flip and rehab houses, that this is their actual business to improve a neighborhood, and say, hey, I'll sell you 123 Main Street and I'm going to give it to you for $280,000. Well, you agreed to sell it to them for $250. Now I'm selling it to the next person for $280. I never even close on your house and I make $30,000. Yep. Now who should be getting that $30,000?
Homeowner.
The homeowner. But here's the problem. You're stupid. I mean, I'm sorry, you don't understand what they're doing, and
ignorant.
You think better word, much better word.
Yeah, I like ignorant. Ignorant means you don't know something.
Yeah, right, but see, I don't like using ignorance as an excuse for doing stupid things. I think it's lazy. I think if you get caught up in a sales pitch, or there's no situation that's that desperate, because here's the reality of it. All right, if you were to list that house for 7 days under market, the same guy that winds up buying it as a flipper.
Same guy would have bought from you.
It's gonna buy it. It's gonna buy it anyway. And even if you're paying a realtor $7, $8, $9 to list it, you're still better off than giving the guy that did nothing $30,000.
And if it goes to market, it isn't going to a flipper.
And we just talked about we talked. There are no houses for sale.
No.
There's no. Even if you do FSBO, I'm a realtor, and I'm telling you, you're better off doing FSBO.
Let stuff go market.
So why don't you hear agents kind of making that their thing, like educating their clients or whatever about
you know what?
doing
and I'm going to tell you why. Because that process of wholesaling properties is rampant in the realtor community.
Yep.
There are a lot of realtors doing that. They'll walk in, oh, I'll give you a cash offer, and then they're flipping it to people that actually do the flipping.
That sounds like a really big conflict of interest.
And this is exactly why, dude, it is a well-known fact. If I catch you wholesaling at Simply Vegas, I'm going to fire you that day. You cannot work for me and do this. Yeah. And here's why. Because at some point, grandma, they got taken advantage of, is going to realize and be like, oh my gosh, I got gazoned. And if you're carrying a real estate license, they're going to go to the division about it, because you swindled them, and they're going to sue the broker. Because remember, for those of you who don't know this at home, if you're not in the real estate industry, real estate agents carry no liability.
Right.
They have no liability. Every single thing we have 500 agents that work for our brokerage. Every single thing that all of them do lands on me. It's my fault. It's my responsibility. I got to deal with it.
Right.
So that's I don't know why they don't make a bigger issue. And it's so funny, because our local boards that should be educating consumers about this. There should be commercials.
Absolutely.
I mean, who's
informing the public.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
informing the public
we
about.
Pay for it.
Well, informing the public that this is bad and you need to call a realtor and get some decent advice.
Yeah, that's a simple sell. If you see a guy with a fucking Sharpie on a piece
Isn't
of paper,
that crazy though? You get off the freeway and there is a dollar green poster board. Sell your house cash, and people say, like you said, I don't even know if it is ignorance or just
I'll say this. So if you can statistically look at where the majority of these deals happen, they happen in parts of cities where there's not a lot of English as the primary language. There are places where people can easily be taken advantage of. I completely agree with you.
It's usurious, and I can tell you that with my clients, because the majority of my business is real estate and car accidents, and it's because there's insurance companies on the other side of car accidents, and I negotiate with them for people, because people would be taken advantage of by insurance companies. The other side of it is real estate deals. And I will tell you this, there's a reason there's a check cashing place on the corners of the lower income neighborhoods.
Yep.
Okay. A lot of lower income people don't bank. You know what's really surprising, and this is where you it's good to talk to different sort of people in different strata, is that a lot of my clients don't have banks. They literally don't have banks. So if I give them a big check,
they have nowhere to cash it.
They have nowhere to cash it. And there are companies like Chime that will do the online banking. They won't accept the check from Connell for $50,000 for their client. And so they have to go to a check cashing place.
Okay.
And those people take a huge chunk out of it. And it's just another, system of being on that treadmill, right? That treadmill of poverty where someone else is taking your money because you don't know any better. And it's targeted because there's not a rich person on earth that is just going to walk into a meeting with a guy who says, sell your house cash.
Well, you know what?
Shows up with a contract.
Then let's make that our goal. Everybody you need to know, everybody you meet, bring that up at your next party. Bring them next time you meet your friends. Talk to them. Do you know what it means when somebody puts and/or signee on a real estate contract?
Except for commercial.
This is what's going to, except for commercial, because those are entities.
We do it all the time.
You do that
we do it all the time in commercial.
If somebody makes you a cash offer and they put and/or signee, you can guarantee you're about to get screwed. Well, we'll be back in just a minute where we're going to talk about, is Colt's daughter a serial killer? And also social faux pas and how to get at him. Because, man, I got to tell you, I royally screwed up this week. It was brutal. I'll tell you about in a minute.
Okay.
Hey, it's John Gafford. If you want to catch up more and see what we're doing, you can always go to thejohngafford.com, where we'll share any links that things we talked about on the show, as well as links to the YouTube where you can watch us live. And if you want to catch up with me on Instagram, you can always follow me at thejohngafford. I'm here. Give me a shout.